Hi guys, welcome into another episode of our beginner's guide into ESO. Today we're going to be looking at some more crafting. So as you may have already watched earlier, we started off with consumable crafting, which is all about food, potions, enchantments, things that you're going to be using a lot of. And you know, you're going to be using multiple amounts of those sorts of things. Today we're going to be talking about equipment crafting, and that's going to be your weapons, it's going to be your armor, it's going to be your jewelry, it's going to be all those sorts of things, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So without further ado, let's get on into it. As you can see here, I've got my my Nightblade that we've been going along with so far, Deshinta Silverclaw, and as you can see, I've done a little bit of cosmetic changes to him. I've also gone ahead and secured a vampire bite, and I've become a vampire as well, which I think really leans into being that sort of stealthy rogue type with the Nightblade class, which I think looks and acts really well. So as you can see here, we are still in Auradon, but what we'll do, and this is what I suggest every time you jump on, every time you get a chance to jump on, is to come over here, come over to your stable master, which you can locate by finding the horse icon in whatever town you're in. And I would do some training, spend some time training your riding skill, whether that is speed, stamina, or carry capacity. If you do that every day as you log in, it's going to really benefit you towards the end of the line. And if you can do it consistently each day you log on, you'll see it just melt away. It'll melt away so quickly it's not funny. So now if we want to go and get certified in our equipment crafting, we want to make our way over to the marketplace where all of our crafting stations are. So here we are here, and what you will find is similar to the consumable crafting writs. You will either find someone here that does all of them for you, which should be Melaninth up in the Fighters Guild. If you're playing along and you're in Auradon, if you want to get certified for your equipment crafting, it's in the Fighters Guild. So you come here to the Fighters Guild, and you should just be able to speak to, is it Melaninth?
Let me know if you have some time. I can train and certify you in something else.
Okay, so let's start off with our blacksmithing certification.
Prove you know your way around a forge and I'll certify you. But you have to commit. I can only train one discipline at a time.
I want to be certified as a blacksmith.
I want you to craft a simple iron dagger. First you'll mine some iron ore, then refine the ore into iron ingots. You'll use those ingots to make the dagger.
You'll certify me if I make one iron dagger?
Yes. You have to prove you know your way around the blacksmithing station. Those are the rules. For now, bring me an armload of iron ore. Once you're back, you'll refine them into iron ingots. Now,
this is a little tricky point, which you'll come across. I've already got the iron ore, so I'm ready to go and I can continue progressing. But you might need to find some iron ore yourself, which you'll be able to find in the overworld as you explore. You may have found some already if you were following along and you were in the starting zones. You may have come across some iron ore there. Hopefully you have enough. So basically all you want to do is you want to come back to Millenith if you have to, and then you go, I've already have enough iron ore.
Bring the iron ore to a blacksmithing station. If you have enough, you can refine them into iron ingots. Really put your back into it. When you have iron ingots, return to me.
Now, see, this is the other thing. Now, normally what you'd have to do, and let's for the sake of the exercise, let's go down to the blacksmithing station and refine some ingots. So I can walk you through how to refine your ingots. So you come here to where the crafting bazaar is, and you can see here, this anvil here is the blacksmithing station. So we can just press E to use, and you'll see there's a little bit of an information on refinement, which is what we're going to do. So to begin crafting, blacksmiths must refine raw materials. Collect 10 raw materials, such as iron ore, and click on them to assign them to the refinement slot. Press R to refine or press X to clear your selection. Remember, once you've refined enough raw materials, select creation to craft an item. Okay? So, as you can see here, I've got a number of different materials, but let's go with the iron ore. Now, you need a minimum of 10 iron ore in order to refine into an ingot. Okay? So, if you're following along and you need to have them, make sure that you have about 10 to be able to make the ingot. So I've got plenty here. I've got 61, so I'm going to refine all of them. So I'm going to press R to refine. There we go. And I got 50 iron ingots, and I got some other items as well, which we will touch on a little bit later. So now that we've got our ingots, let's go back up to Millenith. Back in the Fighters Guild, and we will show her that we have some iron bars to work with, and then we can move forward. Millenith.
I want you to craft a simple iron dagger. First you'll mine some iron ore, then refine the ore into iron ingots. You'll use those ingots to make the dagger.
Okay, let's
Yes. You have to prove you know your way around the blacksmithing station. Those are the rules. For now, bring me an armload of iron ore. Once you're back, you'll refine them into iron ingots.
Okay, so can you tell me where to find iron ore?
There's a place outside of town which should still have some iron ore veins. Head there and mine it for yourself. Bring me 10 solid chunks of iron ore. If those veins are played out, you'll need to find iron ore on your own.
Oh, really?
You're back.
Okay, alright. So we have to go and do this process all over. So we're going to do it the long way. Okay, so let's go and find ourselves some iron ore. I was not expecting that to happen, but here we are. So we have to go, and I should have held off on refining all of my ingots, but here we are. You might come across this little nuance of the quest line if you're following along. So if you do get to this point and you're about to refine all your ingots, maybe reserve maybe just about 10 before you do so. Just so you don't get stuck like you have like I have now, and you need to try and track down some ingots. I'm going to mount using the H button, and I'm going to get out of the town, and I'm going to see if I can find some around the place. I think that there's a few. I've got a couple of marks on my mini map, which is thanks to an add-on I have, so there might potentially be some around the place. So let's have a bit of a little browse. I don't see any here. Let's go to the other side of Auradon, over onto the eastern side. There might be a few there. And really, you shouldn't need is there some here? Is there? No, that's just a plain boulder. I'm looking for iron ingots, like a brownish color, a copper color. So they should be fairly easy to spot out. It's nighttime in game, so it might be a little bit trickier to spot, but it shouldn't take long. Let's see what we can find. Getting some markers, which is always great as well. And see, this is where, when you come into your crafting class, this keen eye. This keen eye skill is really ideal for spotting out these ingots for you. So, look, there's a rune stone. That's not going to help us right now. We've done our consumable crafting, so that's not going to be of any benefit to us. But let's have a wander around. This is very poor timing, honestly. I can't believe this happened. Oh, okay, let's take this enemy out. Easy. That was nice and done. There's a shrine. There should be... It shouldn't be this difficult to find. There's the, what do you call it? I forgot what you call it. What is it called? It is the Outlaw's Refuge there, so keep that in mind. Have a quick look. Usually under croppings like this, you can find ingots as well. Sometimes along bodies of water you can find them as well. Just like along cliff faces and such. So let's have a look. This is a set item crafting space. We'll touch on that a little bit more in the future. I don't want to go over those details a bit too much now. It might be just a little bit too much information. I'm going to ignore that person for now when it talks about more quests. There we go. I don't see...
Where are you going? Please come back.
I don't see any... Wow, this is a really poor example. Get out of the danger zone. Interrupt. There we go. Looking around. There's that. There's got to be some around. Can't be this difficult, surely. It must know that I'm recording for you guys, and it's just being difficult for the sake of being difficult. It's always the way, right? Like, you know, if it's going, when it rains, it pours, so to speak. There's some blessed thistle. That's not what we're looking for. I might port back to town, and I might try another avenue, because I know that there is usually... Oh, it's Oh, that tells me how much I know. Okay, let's go back to Vocal Guard. If I actually paid attention, look at that. Rookie mistake. So if you paid attention when she said where you can find iron ore, it would have given you, if we go to crafting, it would have given you some locations just outside of town where you can find ore yourself, and it would have been nice and easy. So don't do what I do. That's why it's always important to follow your journal, your quest journal. It'll show you where you need to go when it comes to certain quests, and that is no different to certification quests. I'm just going to hide my emote slots there. Alright. So we're not far. Just outside of town over here. See, this is where I was going to go, and then I noticed the quest markers. So this makes our life a little bit easier. So we can go just up here. And here is some iron ore. Okay, here we go. There we go. We got 4. We got 5. There we go. We got 9. This should be the last one, and then we can go back into town. There we go. We've gotten our iron ore, so let's go back to Millenith. So rocky areas are really where you want to look when it comes to finding iron ore. So those cliff edges around water areas, mines, lots of rocky areas are where you're going to find a lot of your iron ore or your steel or calicum, all those sorts of things. Where has she gone now? Again, Des is not following the quest markers and is going off on his own tangent. So Millenith is now over near the furnace. Here she is. Millenith.
You're back. I take it you found enough ore?
this should be enough iron ore.
Refining ore into ingots is a good way to build your muscles. Well, in one arm. Best to switch every now and then. Otherwise, you'll be lopsided.
I have iron ingots. What needs to be done now? So because I already have iron ingots, I'm going to continue forward.
Go to the blacksmithing station and craft an iron dagger. Nothing fancy. You shouldn't need more than 2 iron ingots. Oh, and you'll need a style material. You can purchase them from any blacksmith, or scavenge them yourself if you're thrifty.
Okay, what is a style material? This is going to be important for you, so...
Every race has a traditional material they work into their weapons and armor. For example, the Imperial style material is nickel. I should know. Every day in the Legion camps, I worked a pile of it.
Okay, and what style material do I need?
The Khajiit style material is moonstone. Why not start with that?
Okay, and how do I learn other racial styles?
You can learn how to craft with another race's style material by studying racial motif books. They're quite rare, mostly held by collectors, so watch for them in your travels.
Okay, and that's going to be something, if you're looking to change your... or alter your character cosmetically, and you want to have certain armor styles and stuff that you wear, motif books and style pages are where you're going to find those sets, okay? So you can find them throughout the world by searching containers, killing bosses, killing enemies, finishing dungeons. You can get them from rewards in events. There's numerous ways of getting all sorts of style pages. There's over... oh, goodness me. There's over 100 different styles currently, so there's so many options available to you. So you won't find yourself... you won't find yourself missing something that suits you, if that makes sense. So let's so to start off with, obviously you're only going to have the one, which is the one that you from the race you have chosen. So if you go to a blacksmith in the town, you speak to them, you can also purchase from their store. You can actually purchase style materials as well. You can buy the base game style materials from all the classes. So there's that option for you as well. I already have quite a few, so I don't need to worry about it. But we're going to come over here to our blacksmithing station and we're going to craft this iron dagger. So now that we're here, we can go to the creation category, right? And we can select a weapon or apparel to then choose the type of item or items that we want to craft. So when it comes to equipment, for most of the equipment classes, you're going to have either a weapon category or an apparel category. And blacksmith is the one that has the 2. Leatherworking and tailoring only has the 1 because it's only the armor that you make. But woodworking, which does your staves and your bows, as well as your shields, will have a weapon and an apparel category, where the apparel category is for your shield. That's how they categorize it. So that's how it's broken down when you come into the crafting categories. Then what you do is you select the weapon, the type of weapon that you want to craft, and then you follow the menu, the sub menu down before you craft, okay? So you'll then select a weapon, a type of item that you want to craft. You'll then select the material, which will dictate what level of weapon that you're crafting will be. And then the style is the style material, which will craft how the weapon will look. And then there is traits, but we won't worry about traits just yet. We'll talk about that in a minute. But for the now, all you need to worry about is you don't need a trait to do the crafting certification. So let's close that menu. Now, what we want to do is we want to craft an iron dagger, and you can see that over to the left-hand side of your quests. ESO is quite intuitive, where it will show you what you need to craft when it comes to crafting quests. off to the left-hand side, so you don't have to go, I'll exit out of this menu, like I'll go out of this, I'll press J, I'll go, okay, what am I crafting? I'm crafting an iron dagger. I'll close that down, I'll open up the blacksmithing station. You don't need to do any of that, which is really good. So all you need to do is focus on the left-hand side of your screen and the right-hand side of your screen, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. So, all right, I've got mimic stones. So now this is another thing that you can talk about, where if you have so many styles, but you're missing a style material to craft, you can use a mimic stone to mimic whatever style you wish to craft, and it'll do it that way. But again, that's sort of later crafting stages that you don't need to worry about right now. All you need to know is that there are so many crafting styles that you can learn from picking things up in the overworld. So you don't need to, all you need to worry about is having the style material once you have learnt that crafting style, and then you can craft that way, which is really awesome. But to start off with, you'll only have the one crafting style. So for me, I'll have the Khajiit Moonstone crafting style, and that's how we're going to move forward. So we're going to come here to type. We're going to cycle through until we find an iron dagger. Okay, we want to craft a dagger. We have iron ingots available to us at level 1, which is great. But say if you're crafting, like obviously for the purpose of this, you don't need to craft anything higher. You just need to craft the base level. But if you are crafting for yourself later outside of this crafting certification, what you can do is there's 2 different ways you can increase the level of the material you use. There will be, once you have the skills in your crafting skill line, you will then be able to cycle through the materials similar to like you can with type here. You will have that option in materials as well. But for now, at the base level of 1, you'll be able to craft up to level 14 with iron. So if you want to say you want to craft, if you're a level 10, you want to craft a level 10 iron dagger, you can press the plus button here to increase the amount of iron ingots you'll use, and therefore increase the level of the iron dagger that you use. So 6 iron ingots will craft a level 10 iron dagger. But we don't need to worry about that for the crafting certification. We just need to create a level 1 one. We've got our style material here, which is Moonstone, and we don't need a trait, but we will talk about that in a little bit. But let's craft the iron dagger by pressing R. And there we have it. We have our iron dagger. So let's exit. Let's speak to Millenith.
Craft an iron dagger. You'll need some iron ingots and a style material. You can buy those from any blacksmith if you can't find them yourself. I
have it right here.
The trick is the style material, but I'm sure you know that.
I figured it out. What more would you have me do?
Next is deconstruction. You learn a lot when you break something into parts, even more so when it's someone else's work. Don't deconstruct your dagger, or anything else really, as long as you do it at a blacksmithing station.
Okay, how is deconstruction useful to me?
You'll regain some components, of course, but the real trick is to deconstruct another crafter's work. You can learn far more by disassembling someone else's material than your own.
And what is deconstruction?
It's a fancy way to say take something apart. The term originally came from Oldmer poetry critiques. High elves consider their physical crafts to be forms of poetry, so it's stuck. You can't know what a sword is, only what it's not, and so forth.
Okay. All right, and there's some really important points there. So when you want to go to deconstruct an item, you go across. So we've gone through refine, we've gone through creation. The next tab is deconstruct, and so here you can, similar with creation, you can select either a weapon or apparel to then choose that item that you wish to deconstruct. You can click on it. You click on an item to add it to the deconstruction slot, and then you press R to deconstruct. You can also press X to remove it from the deconstruction slot, but you need to keep in mind that if you're deconstructing something, it destroys the item. Now, as Millenith said earlier, when you deconstruct an item, you will get some materials back, and if you invest, what you can do is you can invest skill points into another skill in your crafting, so that you can get more materials back as well. And there'll be further items that you can use to improve your items and all sorts of stuff like that we'll branch on in a minute. But for now, all you need to worry about is deconstructing the iron dagger. So we have our iron dagger here. So let's click on that and let's deconstruct it. And as you can see, we got some materials back, which is great, which is awesome. So now let's exit and speak to Millenith.
You certainly know your way around a forge. You're a blacksmith, and let none tell you otherwise.
I'm ready to be certified as a blacksmith.
Of course. I'll get you certified right away so you can fulfill blacksmith crafting rites immediately.
Wonderful. And we get honing stone and inspiration, which is great. And now, let's complete that.
Let me know if you have some time. I can train and certify you in something else.
All right, so we'll look at that in a minute, but what I want to do is we just got a honing stone. So I want to talk about the other tabs that we have in our crafting section at a blacksmith station, right? So the next tab, if we go across, is improvement. So let's go to improvement. This is going further in your crafting improvement. And in all honesty, what I will suggest is if you're going to improve your items and you're at a low level, that's all well and good. But I think what it's worth, don't worry about getting to the best quality improvement item. So you don't want to use, so you can see on the screen, there, you can see that there is a legendary item. So what I really want to emphasize, because I do see it happen quite early on with people that don't really know. If you want to be level 10 and you want to have a legendary item, go for it. All for you. That's your materials, it's your way you want to play. Not a problem. Personally, I would advise against it because those legendary materials are actually worth a lot, and they tend to be harder to find, and they're better off being used when you're at an end game level and you want end game gear quality content to take on veteran dungeons, you want to do trials, you want to do world bosses, you want to do all that sort of stuff. I would save, I wouldn't go past blue materials for anything between 10 and 50. I wouldn't worry about it. Purple and yellow, epic and legendary, is for 50 and above. That's how I play. But again, everyone's different. That's the beauty of ESO. You can play the way you want to do. But personally, I would suggest if you have those materials, hold on to them for as long as you can, so that way you can use them when you get, you can use them appropriately when you get to the level for it. So improvement involves around, again, selecting a weapon or apparel and then choosing the type of item you wish to improve, okay? Click on the item to add it to the improvement slot, press R to improve, and you press X to clear the improvement slot. Remember, if you don't use enough tempers, the item may be destroyed in the process. So this is important. So let's go with an example, right? Now, because I have a ridiculous amount of materials. You probably won't have that many materials. That's me. I'm endgame. I've been around for a while. I've got a few. So I wouldn't worry about it. But say you want to improve your dagger or your sword or your bow or whatever. You'll go here, you select it. And what you'll probably have is you'll have this. Now, we got a honing stone from doing that certification. So if you use one honing stone, right, there is a 20% chance that you will improve your weapon into a fine weapon, okay? If you use more, you increase the chance of improving that weapon into a fine weapon, right? And at the base level, which we have now, if I want to have a 100% chance of improving my weapon, I need to use 5 honing stones to get a fine weapon. If you use less than 100%, absolutely go for it if you want to take the gamble. But what I will let you know now is if you land out of that, so if you say you chose 40% and you landed on something that was in the 60 to 100% error that didn't have a honing stone, it will destroy the item and you won't get it back. So I always use 100% to get so I know that I'm going to be getting the weapon back. So I know that I'm going to use 5 honing stones to make that dagger a fine dagger. Let's press up, and then here you go. You get a prompt, which is like a warning. It's that second little area of warning to go, hey, you're using these items to improve this item. Are you sure? You go accept. And there we go. It's been improved into a fine item. Now, I've got that still in the improvement slot. So obviously what it's done is it's gone to the next item, which is Dwarven Oil, I'm pretty sure it is. And that improves it into a superior item, right? So that's what refining is about. You can't undo refining, but if you deconstruct a fine item, right, you have a chance to get refinement materials back. So if I were to deconstruct that Inducer's Scalpel, that one-handed dagger, there's a chance that I might get a honing stone back. So deconstruction is really important if you're a crafter, because it's going to help you build up those materials that you're going to use, and you're going to be able to get some of those refinement materials back as well, and it's going to help you craft more gear. And the good thing about it as well is if you are deconstructing weapons and armor that you have gotten in the overworld from questing and dungeon delving and exploring, it's going to improve, as you can see in the top left corner of your screen, it's going to improve your level in blacksmithing. So if you're a new player and you're wanting to get into crafting, deconstruct every time you come into town so you can get more materials and get more experience in your crafting area. So that's also important. So we've looked at, now that we've been certified, we've looked at improvement. Now the next one across is research, and this is where traits come into it. So again, with the same, it follows the same similar fashion for creation, deconstructing, and improvement. You can either select a weapon or apparel so that you want to wish to research, and you can press R to research that item. But keep in mind that researching an item destroys that item in the process. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Now, when we're talking about research and we're talking about traits, if we go back to creation, and we see how we've got trait at the bottom. Traits are a boon or a boost to a weapon that enhances it further. So you can go ahead and you can craft a normal dagger and it won't have any traits. But if you go and craft a powered crafting trait, you will get that trait as an option when you go to craft it, and it'll give you extra stats. Now, it doesn't specify... Okay, so say for example, so I've got a whole pile of weapons in my inventory that have traits. So if I go here, if I go into my inventory and if I go to my weapons, I can have a look and I can see... that's not a good one. Okay, so the Iron Maul that I have, it has a trait. And you'll notice that it has a trait because you'll have that magnifying glass next to its trait. That means that it's a researchable trait that you can learn, but usually the trait is listed underneath its stats. So you can see that this Iron Maul has the defending trait. The defending trait increases physical and spell resistance by 2,856, okay? So that's what traits do. They can give you boosts that way. Look like there's training. Training is a really, really good one for starting out because training increases the experience gained by kills by 5%. And that stacks. So if you've got you've got your armor, you've got a full set of armor, and it's all, say for example, you've got all of your armor slots. There's 7 armor slots listed, right? And they all have training traits on them. That's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35% extra experience from kills wearing that armor. So you will get experience in light armor or heavy armor or medium armor, or using sword and shield or daggers or bow or whatever you have. You will get increased experience from those kills, which is really important for leveling up. Right? So you're a new player, and you've managed to, in your travels, you've managed to come across a few weapons that have traits in your inventory, and you want to research those traits so then you know how to craft those traits later on. So if you come into your research tab and you go to your weapons, which is what I have at the moment, you will see that there is a little number next to the weapon type of the trait line, and you can see that it'll list all the trait progress you have. And you can see that there's a whole pile here that we have unknown, but in our inventory, right, we have an axe that has the decisive trait, and it's researchable. So what we can do is we can select the axe, we can go research, right? And this is the research trait from that item. So if you select that item, it will research this item, it will destroy it. In the process, it'll take 5 hours and 24 minutes to research that trait. And at the end of that 5 hours and 24 minutes, you will know how to create an axe with the decisive trait. All right? So let's do that. We're starting that. It's fantastic. It's learning how to do that. Now, what I do want to say is, and I know I'm waffling on a bit, but there is a lot to do around traits, and it's really exciting. I find it exciting anyway. But there are skill lines. Again, there are skill lines in your crafting skill line that will increase the amount of research slots you have, the maximum being 3, and you can research 3 things at a time. That same skill line will reduce the amount of time it takes to research an item. So say here we're researching something and it's going to take 5 hours, but if we've got skills in that skill line, it might say, instead it'll take 3 hours, if that makes sense. So if you're, obviously you're here as a new crafter and you're wanting to research as many traits as possible, you want to do this. And this is something that I would suggest if you're a crafter and you're wanting to learn. When you first log on, when you do your horse mount training and you're coming in to do your crafting dailies, I would look at your research tab and see what you can research, and always have those slots full researching something so you know how to do it. Because the really important thing is there are set items, set armor sets that you can craft. There are craftable armor sets that you can craft in game. But the thing is, in order to craft those set items, the craftable set items, you need to know a minimum of, I think the minimum is you need to have a minimum of 3 traits in order to craft it, right? So if you want to craft, for argument's sake, let's say that you want to craft, pardon me, and what I'll do is I'll just go to my map here, because we did come across one earlier. When we were looking for iron ore, we came across that crafting set area. That's where you can go to craft set items, okay? And so, for example, this was the Death's Wind set that you can see here. And you can see if you have 2 items, you get this stat. If you get 3 items, you get this stat. 4 and 5 items, so on and so forth. But you'll notice underneath where it says part of the Death's Wind set, it says 2 traits required, right? So if you go there and you want to craft the Death's Wind set, and you've got 2 traits, what it means is it means that if you want to craft an axe of Death's Wind, you need to have 2 traits in the axe in order to craft it, right? So what you want to do is you want to try and learn every single trait so you can craft every set item when it comes to it, and it comes across all weapons. If you're just like, say for example, you're me and you're a dual-wielding Night Blade and you're going to use daggers the whole time, you might go, okay, well, I just want to learn how to craft the stuff that I want to craft, so I might just go and do all the traits in daggers. And then that way, when you want to make a set item, you know that you can craft everything for daggers. But if you're going to be crafting in general in the game and you want to expand how much you craft, I would learn all of the trait items so you can craft anything with any trait, because there's some really good traits here. For example, that training one gives you experience from kills, but if you get into end game builds and end game armor, you might want to go with a sharpened trait that increases skill, physical and spell penetration. Or if you're a tank, you might want to increase your physical or spell resistance. Or if you're a DPS, on top of that, if you don't want to go the sharpen route, you might want to increase your weapons enchantment that you learnt from your enchantment and rune crafting to increase and extend the duration of those effects. Then there's Precise, which is another good DPS one, which increases your weapon and spell critical values. There's all sorts of ones here, and there's all sorts of combinations you can do for endgame builds. There's limitless possibilities. So when you start up your game and you're crafting, do your horse mount training. Come do your daily crafting writs. Do any research that you have outstanding. Deconstruct anything in your inventory that you need to get rid of. That last one, I would do that every time you come into a zone. Every time you come into a city or a town, I would do that. Especially if you're early on and you're filling up your inventory really quickly. You'd want to be coming back to town. You want to be deconstructing all that gear. By all means, if you don't want to do that, if you want to sell it and get money, go for it. There is no right or wrong way. But if you deconstruct those items, you get materials back that you can use to craft more. Then you don't have to worry, like I had to earlier, going out and finding materials in order to refine. Well, they'll already come refined if they're deconstructed, but you won't have to go out and find ore to then get ingots to then do crafting. You'll already have the ingots there. You'll already be able to get crafting. And in all honesty, that is the bread and butter of your crafting. But for argument's sake, repetition is key to learning anything. So let's go through and do our clothing certification. So let's go learn more about our clothing.
The needle and thread, I'll certify you. However, you must commit. I can't certify 2 things at once.
I want to be certified as a clother.
Show me you can craft a pair of homespun gloves. First, you'll collect some raw jute, then return here and refine it. Finally, you'll use refined jute to make the gloves.
You'll certify me if I craft some homespun gloves?
Of course. It was the first trade I studied.
Oh, really?
To certify anyone familiar with a clothing station. Now run forth and bring me a pile of raw jute.
I already have raw jute, so I'm just going to continue going forward. But you might want to go back to her and say, I don't have any. She'll notify you that there's a place just outside of town where you can find some jute. You just need to follow the quest lines in your journal, follow to that place, harvest it from the nodes, come back just as we did before, right? But I already have raw jute, so let's do it.
The raw jute to a clothing station. If you have enough, you can easily refine it. Bring the refined jute to me when you're done, and then you'll make some homespun gloves. Okay,
so again, I already have some refined jute as well, so I'm going to keep going forward, but you want to go to your clothing station, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you where that is. In Auridon, the clothing station, you want to look for that icon, that scissors and thread icon, which you'll be able to find if you press on your map and you go to your crafting area, you'll be able to see, okay, there's a clothing station here. So you want to look for that icon. That'll show you where the clothing station is. And it is very similar to blacksmithing. You've got the same tabs. You've got the same refinement areas. You can go from there, right? But for now, I'm going to come over here to Milleneth. Oh, blacksmithing basics, my bad. Milleneth.
Show me you can craft a pair of homespun gloves.
There we go. I already have enough raw jutes.
Take the raw jute to a clothing station. If you have enough, you can easily refine it. Bring the refined jute to me when you're done, and then you'll make some homespun gloves. I
actually have some refined jute as well, so what should I do next?
Head to the clothing station and craft a pair of homespun gloves. You shouldn't need much refined jute. Don't forget the style material. You can purchase them from any clothier or scavenge them yourself.
I'll go make the gloves then. Okay. And again, this is, again, there's a clother. They can sell you style materials if you need them. And then you come over here to your clothing station. And again, it is the same process for blacksmithing as it is for clothing. So you'll come over here, you go to refine. If you need to refine it, you'll come down, you'll find your raw jute. You will then refine it, and then off you go. And then you'll come to your creation tab. So you want to select the type of armor that you wish to craft. So clothing is unique in that it has, instead of having weapons and armor, it has 2 styles of armor that you can craft. Pardon me. There is light armor and medium armor. So you can craft those 2. For now, we're just focusing on light armor, but just keep in mind that it does medium armor as well. So again, you want to select the type of apparel you want to wish to craft. Then you want to go down, you want to select the material. And then once you've selected the material, you want to select the style. And then there's traits, obviously, as well. And then you press R to craft. So remember, you can only craft in styles that you know, which you can pick up books to learn new styles in the overworld. And the style materials, most base game style materials, you can buy from merchants. But for more advanced and further, like, harder to find styles, you will need to find the style materials either by deconstructing their armor styles that you find in the world, right? Or from searching urns, searching enemies. You can get them from bosses, you can get them from chests, you can get them from, I think you can even get them from harvesting nodes as well. So there's that option as well. So what we're going to do is we want to create, as we can see from our quests on the left-hand side, we want to go to homespun gloves. We want to go across. We've got gloves here. Perfect. We want to create level 1. If we want to create level 10 ones, we can move it up by using more jute to create it to level 10. At the base level, you can create from level 1 to 14, and then you can expend skill points in your skill line to then craft anything from levels higher, and it goes up in increments of 10. I think it goes 15 to 25 or 24, 25 to 30, 35, and then and so on and so forth, right? So there's that there for you as well. So let's go ahead, and we've got our homespun gloves. We've got the Khajiit style. We're going to craft the homespun gloves. Wonderful. Perfect. Let's go back over to Milleneth. Oh, I've gone ahead and pressed the law book again.
Craft a pair of homespun gloves. You'll need refined jute and a style material.
I have those right here.
Can't find any yourself. You know, I'm a master clothier, yet I still own a pair of homespun gloves. They keep my hands warm at night. Sometimes simple is better.
Right, I'm ready for our next step.
Wonderful. Now for deconstruction. There's much to learn from breaking down your own work, even more so with someone else's creation. Head to a clothing station and deconstruct your gloves. Or anything else, really. Just be sure you do it there.
Okay, and then, again, if we want to go and deconstruct items, we can come over here to the deconstruct tab, and again, by pressing R, we can deconstruct an item. Pressing X will clear the deconstruct selection, and you can choose something else. Now, I want to touch on something here just quickly. So you will notice here, I've got all of these items in my inventory that I could deconstruct, and you will see I've got the ones that I've created. These are the ones that I just created, right? And you'll notice that it doesn't have a little magnifying glass next to it. So that magnifying glass, that signifies that that particular item has a trait that you can research. So if you're going through and you're deconstructing your inventory, right, you might come across one that has a magnifying glass next to it. That means that it has a trait that you haven't researched yet. You might want to hold on to that and use it for research rather than deconstructing. But it's going to be a fine balance between managing your inventory space and your researching stations, like your researching slots. Because you don't want to have, say, I've got 125 inventory. I don't want to have 100 slots in my inventory filled with items that I'm waiting to research, and then I don't have any space for anything else in my inventory, which is just not ideal. So you might want to, what you can do, and what I tend to do when I can, is you can store items that you want to research into your bank, because your bank inventory is linked when you're at a deconstructing, or when you're at a crafting station. So you can research or deconstruct items directly from your bank inventory at a crafting station, okay? So you don't need to have it in your inventory to then be able to research or deconstruct it. So if you've got a whole pile of items like I have now that you want to research, chuck them in your bank, okay? And then you can research them from there. It's a good way to build up all of the different traits that you want to research eventually. And at the start, it's going to be very quick, right? But for now, let's deconstruct our homespun globs. We're going to press E to select them. We're going to press R to deconstruct. And there we go. We've got some jute back. Wonderful. Let's go talk to Millenith. Millenith, where are you? There you are. I'm ready to be certified as a clother. Wonderful. And we got some hemming. Wonderful. Okay, and we'll look into that in just a minute, just to reinforce everything that we're learning here. But now we got some improvement, which again, just like our blacksmithing, you can use your enhancement items, they're called tannins here, to then improve the quality of the items that you have. And again, if I was to go and say, if I wanted to create these Forgotten Adventures breachings and I wanted them to be fine, I can use 5 of my hemming to then 100% chance to increase it into a fine item. So there's that there. And it's the same as blacksmithing, as it is the same as clothing, as it is the same in woodworking. Now, again, research, the same deal. There are traits on all sorts of light and medium armor that you can have, and there are so many options there available that are just wild, okay? And it's the same process. You go here, you select what type of item you want to research, and you can go all the way through here. I should note, what you'll notice, especially in creation, and in creation and in your research, when it shows the type, it's going to show you all of the light armor, right? All the light armor, then all of the medium armor. And you can see that you use, instead of using jute for your level 1 item, you use rawhide, which is leather, for your medium armor. So it goes all of your light armor types, then your medium armor types. So that's where that is, if you're wondering where they are. But we can go to research, and again, it's the same deal. All of your light armor, then it's all of your medium armor. So I'm going to go ahead, okay, and I'm going to research. Perfect. training guards. So I'm going to research those guards for 5 hours and 24 minutes. Once that 5 hours and 24 minutes is up, I just realized that I've been on my own screen, so you haven't been able to see all of that. But here you go, you'll see it. I'll just show it just to double check. So you've got all of your light armor here, right? And then you'll have your medium armor all here. And that's what I've done. I've gone ahead and I've researched the guards. That's ticking away now. At the end of that 5 hours, 23 minutes and 30 seconds, I will then be able to craft training medium guards, which is great. Okay, so for the third time, I think third is a really good number to do things in threes. So let's go over to Minimith, and we're going to get our woodworking certification.
A good woodworker sees the final product before cutting the first block of wood. But I can't teach two crafts at once. If you commit yourself to the training, I'll certify you.
I want to be certified as a woodworker.
I want to know if you can craft a maple bow. First, go harvest some rough maple. You'll refine it into sanded maple at a woodworking station.
Perfect.
You'll take the sanded maple and turn it into a maple bow.
Okay. You'll certify me if I craft a maple bow?
Absolutely. Bows are challenging to craft. Show me you're up to the challenge and I'll happily certify you. But first, go get me a bundle of rough maple. Again,
this is that spot where if you already have some maple, perfect, you can continue going like I'm going to. But if not, you might want to ask Millenith where you can find some maple. She will point you to an area on your map where you can go and harvest some. Then you can come back and you can continue the certification. I already have some rough maple, so I'm going to select that.
Rough maple to a woodworking station. As long as you have enough, you can refine it into sanded maple. Return to me when you've done that, and we'll talk about crafting a maple bow.
Okay, and again, I already have some sanded maple, so I'm going to say that, but you might want to go to woodworking one. So let's go out of here. Now what you're going to find is if you press M and you're in Auradon and you're wondering where a woodworking station is, it's not in the guard's forge. What you want to look for is this little hammer and easel sort of looking symbol, and that's going to point you to where the crafting station is. And what you can see here is it's just outside of the fighting guild. So what we want to do is we want to go up here. Let's sprint up here, and you will see there's that icon above it that shows you that's where the crafting station is. So I've already got some sanded maple, so I'm going to speak to Millenith and we're going to continue that process. But you might want to go there and you might want to ask Millenith. Okay, so Millenith has moved. Where's Millenith? Crafting. Where's Millenith gone? Okay, Millenith has moved back up into the Fighters Guild. So let's go back up there. Millenith, where are you? And here she is.
I want to know if you can.
I already have some rough maple. I already have some sanded maple.
Craft a maple bow at a woodworking station. You'll need sanded maple, also a style material. Scavenge them yourself or buy a style material from a carpenter.
I'll go craft that bow then.
I prefer to work with maple. It's reliable, plentiful, rarely full of wasps.
Okay.
Craft a maple bow at a woodworking station.
Okay, let's go. Let's go and craft that maple bow, which is just outside here, which is perfect. Again, this is the same process as your blacksmithing and your tailoring. So you want to refine your raw materials, collect 10 raw materials, such as rough maple, and then you want to assign them to the refinement slot. Press R to refine or X to clear your selection, and you can refine your materials there. I already have some maple, but I've already got some sanded maple, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to come over here to creation. Again, you've got the option to select a weapon or apparel, which is whether it is a bow or a staff or a shield, right? So that's what your options are here. Then you can select the material, again, to choose what level of weapon you want to make. And then you've got the style to choose how it looks, okay? And then you can press R to craft in this case here. So we want to create a bow. So obviously, as you can see here, you can collect it. If you want to make a shield, you can press this button here. But if you want to create a bow, which is what we want to do, you can see from our quest markers, it's showing us up in the type section what weapon we want to make anyway, which is really, really helpful. So we want to make a bow, we want to make it level 1, we want to make it in our Khajiit style, which is with the moonstone. We want to make it without a trait. We press R. Perfect, that is done. Now we can go back to Millenith. Shoes back inside still. I thought she might have been outside, but that's okay. Let's go over here to Millenith.
Craft a maple bow. Bring some sanded maple to a woodworking station, as well as a style material. Carpenters sell them if you can't find any yourself.
I have the bow right
A
here.
good bow will get you far in life. Making good bows will get you farther.
I'm ready for the next step.
Excellent. Now we can talk about deconstruction. You grow as a woodworker when you disassemble your own creations, even more so with someone else's work. Head to a woodworking station and deconstruct your bow, or any other crafted wood.
Okay, alright. And again, it's the same process. It's the same process we've been talking about. We come to our crafting station. We can go here. We can go across in our tabs from creation to deconstruction. We can select the weapon or the apparel that we want to deconstruct. We collect it. We can press R to deconstruct it, or we can press X to clear it from our selection. So we got here. We've got a couple of things here. I've got the maple bow. We're going to select that. We're going to deconstruct it. I'm going to deconstruct this other item here as well because it doesn't have a magnifying glass next to it. So I can deconstruct it and I don't have to worry about it affecting my research slots. So I've got that there. And as unfortunately on that time, we didn't find any usable items, which is a shame, but that's going to happen from time to time. You're not going to get guaranteed items from deconstructing. It's a chance, and you might get all of them back. You might get some of them back. You might get some improvement items back. It really just depends. It's all up to chance. So let's talk back to Millenith.
I've seen everything I need to see. A fine woodworker with a steady hand.
I'm ready to be certified as a woodworker.
Certainly. You're more than qualified to fulfill woodworking crafting writs. I'll certify you immediately.
Perfect, and that's completed.
I never expected to master 3 crafts.
There we go. All right, and that's it. Now you're certified in all of your equipment crafting. Oh well, I lie. There is one more. There is one more, but what we will do is when it comes to jewelry crafting, you will need to have a DLC to be able to do that. So what we'll do is when it comes to jewelry crafting, we'll do another video about that because we will go through the steps in how to get to Summerset and getting to Aelinor, right? And then getting into the main city where you can then get certified for your jewelry crafting. We'll go through a similar process and we'll talk about all of the nuances that come with jewelry crafting as well. But for now, let's have a look at improvement. Again, improvement is the same for woodworking, is the same for clothing, it's the same for blacksmithing, where you select an item that you want, you can then have a chance to improve it. You can choose to either use 100%, you can use 40%, but using anything less than 100%, there's a chance that it'll destroy the item and you'll miss out. So I always use 100%. There are, obviously, as we've said, there are skill lines that you can invest in that improve. What they can do is, instead of it, say, if I have the skill line maxed out, instead of it costing me 5 pitch to get to 100%, it might only require 3 pitch to get to 100%, and it can save you on your materials that way, which is really important when it comes to your epic and your legendary crafting, because those things can get quite pricey and you want to be able to improve it 100% with using as little materials as possible for you. So there's that option there. Research is the same deal. You can choose to do either weapon or apparel, and you can press R to research it. Again, weapons have all sorts of different traits. Look at that. We've got bow here. We've got a training one. That is perfect. I'm going to use the Forgotten Adventures bow. So if you ever get let's move over here so you can see what I'm in. I'm in the Researchers tab, and I've got a bow here that I have a trait available for training. But what you see is I've got 2 items here, and what's that showing is you have 2 bows that both have the same trait, and you can choose which item you want to use for research. Now, what I do personally is I always research the lower quality item, so then I can use the higher quality item to deconstruct and get improvement items from. So in this instance, I'm going to choose the common item to research. I'm going to research that. Now, if I go over to deconstruct, the other bow no longer has the magnifying glass. I can then press to select it, and then I press R to deconstruct it. I have a chance. There you go. I got some pitch back. It's just a nice little way. It's a nice little way that you can then get improvement materials back rather than waste them on researching. You're not always going to have that opportunity, but if you do, it's just something to keep in mind. But that's it, guys. That is your consumable crafting certifications done in our last video, and today we have finished our equipment certification crafting done. So now when you come into town, when you log on each day, you can come in, you can do your you can do your daily writs in your consumables and in your equipment crafting, and you can slowly get those levels up, which is really exciting stuff. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments section what you're struggling with, if you're struggling with anything. Give me any suggestions you would like me to cover in any more beginner's guides in ESO. I would love to hear from you guys to know what you guys would like to know more about. But it looks like what we will be doing in our next episode is we'll be doing the last of the crafting with our jewelry crafting, and we'll touch on how to get your certification in jewelry crafting, and then how to go about jewelry crafting in general. You can obviously get started now without being certified, but you will only be able to go so far into the crafting in your jewelry crafting before you hit a roadblock and you need to get certified to be able to do more traits. So basically for your jewelry crafting, you'll have access to some traits that you can research. Others will be locked until you're certified in your jewelry crafting, which is part of the Summerset DLC. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to get notifications on when my videos are coming out next. I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section below. So if you've got any questions, if you've got any issues that you're having in the game, please feel free to let me know. I would love to hear from you guys, and I'll help you guys to the best of my ability. But that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all in the next one. For now, take care. Bye.